Yeah, hello, my name is Krishna Raj. Thank you very much for giving us an insight. I would now like to know whether what is the method of preparing this report? Is this through RTIs or some government internal reporting mechanisms? And is there a where the government also does a self report card of themselves? And what happens to people who are migrating from one state to the other? Does it impact the reporting of the state too? And some celebrities might get the coach to walk at night. So why that privilege?
As I told you, we solely use government statistics. But say you have done a study on a certain aspect and you have taken all the information from the government through RTIs, then we will use that because RTI information is official information. So we use that. The other places that we look at is now government is putting out a lot of data. Some long ago and some now. Some of the data is very good, some of the data is improving, some of the data has got a lot of gaps. And I can talk to you for another hour about the data. But for judicial stuff, we use the NJDG, the National Judicial Data Grid. How many cases are there? How many judges are there? How long does it take for a case? Lots and lots of information is given there. State-wise, court-wise, annually. So the NJDG is a big resource for us. Then you have the NCRB, that's the National Crime Records Bureau. That looks at crime. And then you have the BPR&D, that is the Bureau of Police Research and Development. So you get a lot of prisons data from the PSI, the status of policing in India, the prison statistics India. All these are published annually. So by looking at the data, you can find out a lot of stuff. Then you also look at the state budgets. Now that's a very complicated thing to do. We've just begun looking at state budgets to see whether the national budgets, as we have been pointing them out, and the state budgets differ. And we are trying to make it more granular to understand. One of the great challenges that we have as publishers is to make this data simple enough for people to understand. If I tell you there are 5,936 something, you won't remember it. But if I tell you it's 2%, then you will remember it. So one of the difficulties that we have is simplifying the data so that it can be conveyed. We were able to do this quite well with women, and it has had a lot of uptake from the media. And the interesting thing is that the changes that you see in the states and the changes that we put out year on year on the police and the prisons and legal aid and judiciary are used by state governments and by the government of India to answer questions in Parliament. Or very often, and this I don't want to undergo, very often just to show how the other chap is bad, or how good I am. So this year we got a lot of, I would say, showing in Karnataka, because Karnataka is first. So they sit up and they take notice. Yeah? Next year we'll see. We haven't had, maybe I shouldn't say Roshita Chul, we haven't had terrible backlash. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. At the moment चलता है तो चलने दीजिए. Yes. No.
Ma'am, I would like to know if there are any programs where we are focusing on counseling or mental health management for the policemen. Because when we speak about quality of justice, I feel like this also plays a major role because of the kind of job that they do, that they perform. I think over the years they become insensitive and speak atrociously even to like regular citizens. I would like to know if there are any such programs across India, anywhere else in the world, and if not, what should we do to design something like that in our state?
My understanding is, you see, police are a state subject, right? And at the same time, the BPRND, which is the Bureau of Police Research and Development, is a nodal agency that can produce materials and can give money to research on these things for the whole of the police. And then there is the police leadership itself, which is becoming more sensitized to the kind of stress that policemen have to deal with. And some states, it's a long way of answering your question, but some states like Telangana, and I'm not sure about any other at the moment. Pardon? Perhaps Tamil Nadu. They have started to take account of how many hours police work, whether they should have a day off. I believe Maharashtra has a day off, and all of these. So there are sort of, in a dark space, there are sort of little shining armors, little shining stars. But it's not enough. It's not systematized. It is not institutionalized. The orientation of police, right in the beginning. What is the orientation of police right in the beginning? When they come into a police which has a specific subculture of its own, and how does that subculture affect them? Not the outside world, but just the subculture itself. And what does the subculture, what kind of behavior does the subculture reward and disincentivize? That is what will make up police behavior. Indifference, rudeness, machismo, militarism, biases. Actually, and to answer your question about stress, there are efforts being made in an ad hoc way. But this is a huge police force. And it's like turning a big ship around which is going in one direction and then you're suddenly turning it around. It's going to take forever unless you have systematized it and recognized the problem, researched the problem, and then come up with this very appropriate answer. I don't think this has happened yet.
So there's no counseling or mental health programs for the police?
It may be that a certain police headquarters or a certain district police has got a good NGO there or a good counseling there, and somebody is given a 5-day counseling course. But I can't say that it is widely used and widely seen as essential to policing. There is a very good report and really easy to read called The Status of Policing in India. And the first report is about policing attitudes. It's by Common Cause and it's on the web. Status of Policing in India. And if you read some of the attitudes that they found to migrants, to minorities, to children, to tribes, and then you also see the stress levels and you also see the training levels. The largest amount of police only get training once in a lifetime. So when you have been in the police for 30 years and the first training you got was when you went into the police, you are relying on the subculture. You're not relying on any kind of mental conditioning, except whatever the subculture gives.
When I was on a Bada actually, just one question. Regarding Lok Adalat, this is now going on everywhere, Lok Adalat. So what is the any judiciary binding on this Lok Adalat?
Any judiciary, even
Binding.
a Lok Adalat comes to its decisions on the mutual agreement of two people. You know? So that is binding on us because we have agreed to it there and then. So to that extent, it solves the problem. Petty problems, problems with electricity, problems with, insurance claims, etc. And a lot of it is compromise. And it is binding in the sense that the two of us have agreed. It would be difficult for the court now to open up the whole thing and would probably prejudice your case if you had agreed it in the Lok Adalat, then you went back on your word. So that would cause you problems, I think. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, I got it. My question only, I'm just, see, I was not arrested, the violation of code of conduct.
Sorry?
Violation of code of conduct, election time. We had
Okay.
one meeting
Okay.
with your candidate. So they filed a case against me, CRP, under CRP, along with one of my parish priest.
Yeah.
So regarding you are violated the religious place without informing the taking permission of the election. So they told us 100 rupees fine you pay and get out. So I refused and reached authority. Not
You
mine.
refused?
Yeah, I refused to pay.
Yeah.
So I not done any wrong. Why should I pay? So then after some time, the same Lok Adalat people they approached me, saying why are you fighting? They come here attend and Lok Adalat. So I went to Boroli court and there are full rush in that. So then we will waste my time. Why should I waste? Let us see the consequences. Then I never attended that. Then I found one tea vendor. He was arrested for that violation because of he used his cooking gas. Then asked him, I want to make, want to be. Then he told me, अरे मेरे को ये प्रो लिख दे आपको. ये हम किया, अभी माफ करो. Then same thing I had to give. So what is the use of having Lok Adalat? Then I told better. Then after some time I told them my case is withdrawn. But my deposit is still lying there. 2,000 bail is bail at least. 2,000.
You've
So
told,
whether I am eligible.
you've told the reality, there's no question here. You've told the reality. This is what happens. The case is compounded. If it's a simple petty case, it's compounded.
Then police people came also and I know my wife fighting 500 rupees and they are more worth than 100 rupees. So I felt very fortunate. No, they are worth more.
Yeah.
Requesting everybody to please